I don't know how to describe what they did to this person's asshole. They put a bowl in it.
A bowl in the asshole?
It was like a anal plug with a funnel attached to it. They were jerking off into the funnel. Then the cum was going into her ass.
They were rolling grapes into cum. All of our faces were like...
It's one of those moments that I have like engraved in my memory, like Kazumi's birthday party 2 years ago, and I think you were lighting your vagina on fire.
That actually is why my YouTube is deleted, because I posted it.
I think that's the first thing they say. No pussy's on fire.
Does anyone here feel that what they're doing right now is derailing them from being with the person they're supposed to be with in the end and the life that they're supposed to end up with?
It reminds me of people who say, hey man, why can't I just have like a deathbed confession? You know, I live it up, man, I go to Vegas, I do all sorts of crazy stuff. Then on my deathbed, which I may or may not get, I'll just convert and then I go to heaven. That'll be really great, right? And look, maybe. But really what happens is people tend to just keep going down the roads that they're on, and the habits that they cultivate become the habits that define their lives, whether it's virtue or vice. And I just think if you believe you're gonna keep doing this, and then one day at 34 and a half, you're gonna wake up and say, you know what, I'm gonna do something totally different now and get Mr. Right, who's not addicted to porn, and get 2 kids and millions of dollars. I just think that's very, very unlikely.
I think it's more likely that all of us are gonna find like some hot rich guy to marry and take care of us than to like be single for the rest of our lives.
Personally, I think you're a f***ing idiot.
Would you date a girl who's on OnlyFans?
No. But I respect the hustle though. But couldn't be for, no, that's not me, but I respect the hustle.
What if she was on OnlyFans after her dad was hospitalized and she has to pay the hospital bills?
I don't know, am I already in a relationship with this woman?
Yes.
Oh my god, that's tough.
He's in the hospital.
He's in the hospital? We got health care though, you know what I mean? We're in Canada. Is he not fine? No, but if we were in America, a different story, man.
Okay, you're in America.
Bitch, please.
Welcome to Revoke the Vote. I'm your host, Paradox. Now, in this series, I make the case that because modern women are pathologically immature, adult children who've never grown up, all of the rights that are granted to adults in a free country should be revoked from them, because as adult children, they are irresponsible, irrational, overly emotional, and self-absorbed to the point of narcissism. And today we're going to look at a particular childish aspect of both children and modern women, which is wanting to have your cake and eat it too. Children are unable to make sacrifices and hard choices because they're children. Modern women, like children, are unable to make sacrifices and hard choices. So adults, men and traditional women who are adults, recognize that you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to make trade-offs, compromises, hard choices and sacrifices. You can't be a professional footballer and a professional tennis player. You can't be a rock star and a politician. You have to choose. That's what adults understand. Now, as these OnlyFans girls have just demonstrated, they believe that you can choose to be a whore. You can choose to take advantage of the fact that when you're young and hot as a woman, men will either fund your lifestyle through OnlyFans or pay you to perform in porn or fly you out onto yachts so you can live to Dubai to be pooed on, or basically fly you out to their yachts. Rich men will basically fund an extravagant lifestyle that you can show off and about on Instagram. You can meet famous people, you can get banged by famous men. That's the privilege of being a hot young woman, is that you can live for free, basically, because men that want to sleep with you will pay for your lifestyle. Now, if women want to take advantage of that, they can. However, once you make that decision, you no longer qualify to be wifed up by the type of man that you would want to be wifed up by. Now, it's not to say that there won't be men that will marry a whore, but those men are the men you don't want. They are simps, cucks, baiters, who are so desperate for a woman that they will just ignore the fact that you're a whore. Some of these OnlyFans girls and ex-corn actresses have got married and have got kids. Then you see the husband and you realise, oh, he's a simp. He's a desperate baiter, that she wanted children that bad that she settled down with him. He thinks he's got himself, you know, the most beautiful woman in the world. All his dreams have come true. A few years down the line, he's going to get divorced. She's richer than him, so it's not like he's going to lose half his money, but he'll lose his access to his kids, that's for sure. And if she's not already sleeping with chads and cheating on him, she will do, because you can't turn a whore into a housewife. That is a very old saying, but it's actually based on biology, because once a woman sleeps with more than a few men, she loses the ability to pair bond. The oxytocin, which is released during sexual intercourse, which is meant to help her bond with a man and help her imprint upon one man, that happens a few times with different men, and it just fucks the woman's body up. She's imprinted on multiple men now, and she can't imprint on one man or bond with one man. So that's one reason you can't turn a whore into a housewife. The second reason is people don't understand what happens when you take in and ingest sperm from multiple men. As I've said many times before, women are built they can only get pregnant by one man at a time. So literally they get pregnant, 9 months they're pregnant, and then for the next few years, when they have an infant, they're not thinking of getting pregnant again by different men. So it's not natural for women to sleep with multiple men, whereas a man can impregnate dozens of women at the same time. So it's more natural for a man to spread his seed than it is for a woman to spread her legs for multiple men. Even though in our culture, with feminism and the pill, women are the same as men. Women can do whatever men can do. Women can be sluts. Women can be promiscuous. It's fine. It's only patriarchy that says it's wrong. No, it's biology that says it's wrong. It's evolution that says it's wrong. It's tens of thousands of years of humans living together and reproducing that says it's wrong. So the other reason is the trauma. When a woman takes in, and I mean this, when a woman takes in sperm from a man, that sperm that isn't used to fertilize an egg goes into the soft tissues. It goes up to her brain. It affects her psychology and her emotions. And if she takes in sperm from multiple men, do you know what happens? Have you ever seen a kind of crazy woman? Like a porn actress, an older porn actress, or an older prostitute, or just an older woman who slept with a lot of men. They're crazy because, number one, they've been traumatized by being pumped and dumped by so many different men, because none of the men will marry and settle down and love and care for a whore. They found that out the hard way. Plus, they've taken in so much different sperm that's gone into their soft tissues, it's kind of driven them crazy. This is a real thing. People never think about this. It's not just an energetic and emotional bond when a woman sleeps with a man. It's a biological bond. The sperm stays in your body. It's meant to imprint you on one man, just as the oxytocin is. And when you sleep with too many men, you just look at Karens. What do you think a Karen is? A Karen, you don't get male Karens because men are not imprinted on when they have sex. Women are. And when a woman has too many sexual partners, one way or another, she'll go crazy. That's why there are so many crazy women and in comparison, so few crazy men. So even though this last woman completely ignores reality and just decides that because she's an adult child and suffers from magical thinking, where just because she wants things to be a certain way, just because she wishes to be wifed up by a high-value man, she's not going to listen to any logic, reason, evidence, history, biology. She's not going to listen to anything. She's a child. So she's just going to believe in Father Christmas because she wants to believe in Father Christmas. I'm going to get we're all going to get high-value men. I don't care what you say. But you're not. By the time you hit 30 and you want to settle down and you want to stop being a whore, you will be traumatized, probably get on your way to being an alcoholic, to numb the pain of sleeping with so many men that don't care for you and don't love you, filled with semen and sperm from multiple men that have gone into your brain and driven you crazy. That's the actual reality of your choice, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. Moving on.
By working your job, you dehumanize all women and make us all be seen as purchasable commodities by men. No, I don't. No, I don't. Sex workers are not buffers for polite society. They're not buffers for violent men. When you sit there and blame the entitlement and objectification and violence that men do onto women, when you blame sex workers for that violence, you're victim blaming. And I'm not going to play good woman, bad woman dichotomy with swerfs and radfems in my comment section, especially not when it literally gets sex workers killed. But hey, protect women, right, guys? Unless you don't agree with the ways in which they try to fucking survive poverty.
A bullshit? A bullshit? A bullshit.
The violence that I face at work is not a metaphor for the violence that civilian women face on a daily basis. What the fuck are you talking about?
Agreed.
It's even more sick when rhetoric like this prevents me from getting justice and recourse at work when I am hurt. Y'all are craisins. The fact that y'all want to sit there and exclude sex workers out of your leftist and feminist movements until you can co-opt the violence that we face at work to further stigmatize and criminalize industry while victimizing yourself? I have a voice. I'm not a stand-in for your goofy, funny feelings or your unpacked trauma. Go figure it the fuck out. I deserve human rights. I deserve justice and recourse. You do not know better than the people struggling to work safely within a stigmatized, criminalized industry. I deserve to come home safe. Destigmatize, decriminalize, and decarcerate. Get this shit out of here.
Methinks the lady doth protest too much.
I actually agree with her on her main point, which is that sex workers aren't to blame for male violence towards women in general and for the objectification of women. Men are to blame for sexual violence towards women. It doesn't matter what women wear or if they go drinking, or there's no excuse, basically. It's always the man's fault. Sexual violence is always men's fault, period. So I totally agree with that. And any feminists and women who blame male sexual violence on sex workers are hypocrites and wrong. So she's absolutely right about that. In terms of the objectification of women, prior to the 60s and women becoming whores, then yeah, it was men objectifying women. But since the 60s, and since women became whores and took the pill and started sleeping around, and porn became a thing, there would be no porn if it wasn't for women. If women didn't engage in porn, there'd be no porn. So porn is on women, just as hookup culture is on women. Women control access to sex. Simple as that. And they did that prior to feminism in the 60s and the pill. And it meant that if a man wanted to have sex with a woman, he would have to commit to her first by marriage. That's when women were sane and they understood men. And they understood their value and they respected themselves. And they didn't just open their legs for any hot Chad or bad boy. They made sure the guy committed to them before they opened their legs, because they knew that was their greatest value, their purity, their innocence, and them not being used up. Since that time, women have been objectifying themselves, because now they have sexual freedom, sexual liberation. So now they've been chasing the hedonistic pleasure of having exciting sex with different men in different places, you know, with rich men, famous men, athletes, all the men that they didn't have access to before. Women just went out and got it. And in the age of Instagram and TikTok, women are the ones objectifying themselves. It's nothing to do with men anymore. So I agree with her on that. Feminists and women should not blame sex workers for the objectification of women or male violence. 100% agree with her. Where I disagree with her, where she's trying to have her cake and eat it too, is when she goes on about sex work being stigmatized and criminalized and says it should all be open and free. This is where you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. And the reason I use that meme of "I fear the lady doth protest too much," her anger that is seemingly directed towards other women that are basically having a go at her is actually at herself. Because, and saying that women go into sex work because of poverty. That's like saying that people become hitmen and drug dealers because of poverty. Not everyone who's poor becomes a criminal, and not every woman who's poor becomes a whore. So that's no fucking excuse. And that actually gives away my main point, is that you think that you became a whore because you were poor. Bullshit. You made a choice. You made a choice to have your cake, the whore cake, and now you're trying to eat it too. When you made the decision to go into sex work, you already know that it's stigmatized for very good reason. For the reasons I've mentioned before, is that women are not meant to sleep with loads of men. It fucks you up. It traumatizes you. It ruins you, and it ruins your life. So it's your decision if you want to ruin your life. You can't go into sex work and then moan about it being stigmatized afterwards, and moan about it being criminalized, and moan about the violence in there. You made that choice. It's on you. But because you're a woman, and because you are pathologically unable to take accountability for your stupid choices, your self-destructive choices, like becoming a a prostitute, because you're unable to take accountability. Once you realize what you've done, oh my God, I'm now part of a stigmatized group. No decent man that I want will ever want to settle down with me. The whole of society stigmatizes me, and my job is dangerous. I put myself in dangerous positions for sexual violence and exploitation. If you were a man, you would say, fuck, I made a massive mistake. What was I thinking? I should never have done this. That would be accountability. But because you're not a man, and because you're a woman, a modern woman, you are unable to take accountability, pathologically unable to take accountability. So what do? You project responsibility for your poor choices onto society. Society is wrong for stigmatizing prostitution. Society is wrong for criminalizing prostitution. Society is wrong for looking down their noses at you and judging and condemning you. Society is wrong. That is trying to have your cake and eat it too. You went into that industry either because you're just one of those girls that love sex and figured, if I'm going to have sex, I might as well have sex with men who are good at sex, and I might as well get paid for it. Either you did that, or you decided that, hey, I just think it's a good way to make money. You were greedy. You may well have been poor, but that doesn't mean you have to choose prostitution. There have been millions of poor women that haven't become prostitutes. That was your choice. So you chose to become a prostitute, and now that you're experiencing the consequences of that stupid decision, and now that you are, and because you're a woman, you can't take accountability, you can't take responsibility, you can't own it, you have to project blame onto something outside of you, namely the world, other feminists, men, anything but you. That's all that's going on there. And that is another example of women want to have their cake and eat it too, and you can't. You can't choose to become a prostitute and then complain that prostitution is stigmatized. You moron. Moving on.
Surefire way to push a sex worker away, specifically like, you know, the ones of us that like do content and shit, like, and like we're just like newly talking and shit, and then you're like, oh, we should do content together. You lose.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
You lose. I don't want to talk to you anymore after that.
Bye, bitch.
All right, so I've just found out that apparently the reason why men can't date me.
What is it?
You know, they say they're my friends, they respect me, they care for me so much. They say I'm like the ideal woman, they talk me up, they say I'm a great mother, I'm great this, I'm the best, and they really like me and they really like who I am. I'm a caring person, I wear my heart on my sleeve, like nothing but good things. But they say, I can't be with you because of your history and your past.
Oh, there's a big surprise! That's an incredible... I think I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from that surprise.
Bitch, what? We all have a past and we all have a history.
That's not the point.
The only difference is I fucking filmed mine.
I feel like to puke.
Mine's on camera. Does that make me not dateable?
Yes.
Seriously, yes or no?
Yes. Nasty bitch.
You'll always be a whore.
That's the way you want to put it.
I don't have somewhere to put it. That's the way it is.
I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. I also forget to add that they want to sleep with me, they want to, with me. So let's put all that together, shall we? Look, we all have a past, right? And if you want to use that past and not be able to give me an opportunity or whatever because of my past.
You're goddamn right.
Because it's accessible for you and your mates to see.
That's not the point.
And that's a you problem, not a me problem.
And an absolutely classic modern woman accountability dodge there. First of all, create a straw man argument that you can argue against because you can't argue against the actual reason that these men say you're undateable. You're creating the straw man that it's because them and their mates can see you so that you can say that's a you problem, not a me problem. But the reason then you're not dateable to them is because you're a whore, is because you can't pair bond, because you're full of other men's sperm that makes you a hot, crazy mess, and they cannot trust you to be loyal. The odds of being cheated on, there's been studies to show this. The more men a woman has slept with, the higher the odds that if he marries that woman, she'll divorce him. So these men have standards. They're not stupid. They're not morons. A woman who has so little self-respect that she whores herself out is not dateable. Not for long-term relationship. Situationship, friends with benefits, hookup. Absolutely. If you're hot, if you're sexy, men will definitely want to have sex with you. But whereas women are the gatekeepers of sex, men are the gatekeepers of relationship and marriage. And that is your problem. That is the problem of every woman that's whored themselves out. They think they have all the power because they decide who they have sex with. They don't realize that when it comes to relationships, men have all the power, and men don't think like you do. Men care about your body count. Men care about your purity. Men care about your value. Men care about your loyalty. Men care about your ability to pair bond. And so you discover that you thought you could have your cake and eat it too, but actually, if you whore yourself out, you end up not having the cake at all and not being able to eat it. And so, because of that level of stupidity and the inability to understand the consequences of your own behavior, we need to revoke the vote. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.